Hey everyone, welcome to Queerly Recommended, the podcast where we recommend queer books, films, TV shows, and more. I'm Tara Scott, and I review sapphic fiction at the Lesbian Review and Smart Bitches Trashy Books. And this week, I am recommending a sapphic romance novel.
Yay! And I'm Kris Bryant, a contemporary romance writer for Bold Strokes Books. And this week, I too am recommending a sapphic romance novel.
Yay! It's the big book edition.
It's the big book. It is.
We just want to take a minute to thank everyone who supports us through our coffee or through our newsletter, which is on Substack. We have links to both in the show notes. And we just want to give an extra special shout out to Boz, who recently supported us on coffee with the message, "Love your podcasts."
Oh, we love you, Boz. Thank you so much.
And if you just want to do one more thing and you haven't done it yet, and you have friends that are looking for those good recommendations of books or films or TV shows, just tell them about the show. Just let them know all about it. So, Kris,
yes,
there was
Tara.
kind of, sort of, maybe a big announcement that happened the day after the last episode dropped. Tell
That's
people
true.
your good news.
So my book Catch it's been shortlisted for a Lammy in the lesbian romance. Woohoo!
Hey, congratulations. It's
Thank
very
you.
exciting.
That is, it has been 9 years since my last shortlist.
Whoa. Which book was that?
Jolt, my first one.
Oh, your first book.
Yeah, my first book was a Lammy shortlist, a finalist.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty exciting news.
And I decided to go ahead and go to New York this time because it might be another 9 years and or never. Who knows?
So go enjoy the gala.
So I'm going to go, and here's the deal. So I also, Kansas City Pride is June 7th through the 9th. It's 3 days. Like, it's like the longest Pride ever. So like you can set up Thursday night, and I had 2 tables. So it's going to be me, KB Draper, and Christina Rivers. We're going to be selling books, and we have 2 tables. So we have a 10 by 20 foot area of books, because last time, like, a 10 by 10 table was not enough.
Really?
Yeah. So I literally just got it all worked out, got the insurance, she paid for the booth, and then I get the notification that I'm a finalist, which is great, except it's the Tuesday after Pride, which is the 11th. So I'm going to be working all weekend, and then I have to go to sleep, wake up early, catch a plane to New York.
Oh my goodness.
And then the Lammies are Tuesday, and then I leave Wednesday morning. Like, it's super fast.
That's a busy week.
That is a busy, like, summer. The start of the summer. It's going to be super busy. But I'm going to go, and it's going to be fun. And here's the great thing. So, like, 2 of my really good friends, Georgia Beers and Melissa Braden, are also shortlisted, which I don't think that's happened.
That's pretty exciting.
Like, from the same publishing company, like,
yeah, that's what I was saying. Has there ever been 3 from one company at the same time?
I mean, in my head, I'm thinking no. I don't know that it's true, but I mean, because the Lammies are everything queer, like big, huge publishing companies, little independent, self-published, it's everybody. And so that they picked out of the 5 finalists, 3 of us are Bold Strokes books. That's amazing.
That must mean y'all wrote really good books.
Apparently, we wrote some killer books.
You did all right.
I think we did all right.
So congratulations
on
your baby. Getting the recognition it deserves.
Thanks. What has been happening in your world?
We went on vacation.
Why do I feel like you go on a lot of vacations?
So we don't. Do you remember how last summer I was supposed to go on vacation, and then I got a migraine that was so bad that the vacation was canceled, and I went to the hospital instead because the EMS thought maybe I'd had a stroke?
Yikes. I do remember that. So this is the vacation that you're supposed to go on.
This is the do-over. Nice. So we went out to British Columbia to visit some of Neil's family. It was really, really beautiful. We were quite lucky because there was a bit of rain, but there was a lot of sun, and, like, frankly, more than I expected. And so we got to go to beaches. We got to see the ocean. We got to hike through a little bit of rainforest. We got to see, there was this building that was in the X-Men movies and in the Descendants, like the Academy building.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we got to see that. It was really great. We got to go to a really wonderful independent bookstore and fresh fish and chips. But there was also a lot of downtime, which was so good because we were staying in a family member kindly vacated their home so that we could
Oh,
be in
nice.
there,
Yeah.
which was so good. So I read a couple books. We're gonna talk about those today.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, it was just great getting the hell out of Calgary. Like I love my city, but I also love to
Mhm.
leave it every once in a
And British
while.
Columbia is beautiful. I mean, that is a place to
Yes.
go.
Yes, it was very good.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that was good. And I was like fully unplugged from work. I didn't do anything else. So yeah, no, my next vacation is GCLS.
Oh,
So
yay. Well,
yes,
then that's amazing because we finally get to meet in person.
I know. I know. I'm very excited. And then
Everybody's so shocked when I say that we've never met.
do they know that we live far apart?
This just goes to show that you can have wonderful friendships from
Yes,
online, meeting online,
it's
and
very
having
true.
just a presence online. Yeah, for sure. And having things in common. And that's what
Hmm.
GCLS is so much fun because you get to meet all the readers and writers that you've been talking to online.
Well, and
And it's
what's
just kind of fun
wild,
in our community.
I've been reviewing for different websites in our community since 20 like the very, very end of 2015, I think. And this is my first lesfic event that I'm going to.
See,
It's just because they're all in the States. And so it all costs a lot more money
yeah.
to go and travel and whatever. But I'm excited that this is the year. I'm very, very, very much looking forward to it.
Yeah. And it's closer to you. I mean, how
Yes.
far of a flight is it? Long of a flight?
I don't know. It wasn't that bad. I think it might be like 3 or 4 hours. I mean, I really should have
Ooh,
gone to
I
Denver, but
really,
then
yeah, I really need to learn Canadian geography. I mean,
we're
Canada's huge. I get that.
north of Colorado.
Okay.
I'm like a
Okay.
4-hour drive from some Colorado border stop that I don't know the name
Really?
of because I've
Hmm.
never been.
Yeah, you should have gone to Denver, but that's okay because you're going to be in Minneapolis and that's going to be a ton
Mhm.
of fun too.
I think so. And then my other big news, I actually had a little check-in with my therapist earlier today about it. Not in
Mm,
like a, "Hey, let's dig deep," but like, "Hey, let's, I kinda wanna celebrate this, and this feels like an appropriate way to do it." It's been 10 years since I left the church, which is
wow.
kind of wild. It feels
Congratulations.
Thank you. It feels like the fastest thing ever. I'm glad I took the time. I mean, I spent a few years in therapy with this
Mhm.
particular practitioner. He's amazing. I love working with him. And it was great because it was kind of like let's just review the last 10 years. What do we think changed as a result of making that choice? So it talked about how I think I'm a better parent because of it. And also some of the sort of good things that have come out of it. And he pointed out something that I thought was really interesting because I took this like 2-hour storytelling masterclass thing a couple of weeks ago with some of my coworkers. And it was funny because those of us that have all left high control religions, like our
Mhm.
bodies were like freaking the fuck out at one point because the guy who did it, he's this like famous sports writer, I guess, but he's also the son of a preacher. So he's like probably in his 60s now. But he did this thing where he's like, I'm going to tell you a story badly and then I'm going to do it good. And so he did this like 90-second bullshit kind of walk through it. And then he took 20 minutes to tell this story of this football player who he took to meet the person who killed his parents or
Oh my
whatever it is.
gosh.
I know. And also, I'm not even going to get into how this whole thing, like, we
Oh,
didn't really learn storytelling techniques. We just learned that this guy thinks that this guy is amazing at storytelling. And I'm not saying he wasn't, but our bodies were all like, oh, holy shit. Because he was telling a sermon minus like the altar call at the end, like, he was doing the whole, "I'm gonna tell a secular story," and then usually we get tied back to Jesus or
right.
whatever. So I was telling my therapist about it, and he's like, "What if that wasn't a trauma response, and what if you just have a really good bullshit detector now?"
Mm.
And I went, "Oh,
Mm.
ooh." I thought that was
Wow.
very interesting and very exciting because I definitely didn't have that kind of a thing before. So, yeah, that's my big I don't know, it's interesting to take time. I think you can do it, like, when you change decades, like, say,
Mhm.
going from your 30s to your 40s or 40s
Right.
to 50s, or when it is 10 years since something happens to just take
Mhm.
that time and reflect and think about what's changed
Mhm.
and where you're going forward from it. So, I'm glad I did it, and definitely if anybody has their own sort of big milestone, and you have a
That's
therapist you
amazing.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, it's a great just, like, do a little check-in and
I
see what
feel
you
like
think.
we should do a chip, like a 10-year chip being away from the church.
Yeah,
Like in the shape of I don't know, a
pentagram.
wafer or a pentagram.
Kidding. Ah, I'm
Ah,
kidding. No,
I
pentagram.
went to the Catholicism side of things and you just went straight to hell.
That's right. I did.
Ah,
Oh, well, it's
it
not real.
happens. Oh my goodness. So, well, congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
I look forward to in another 10 years to hear the 20-year update.
Yeah. So you put a call out for questions and we
I
actually got
did.
some.
We did. So, Tegan Shepherd asks, what are your feelings about the current trend of cartoon covers for romance novels? Go first. You go first, and then I go.
Too much. It's too
It
much.
is too
It's
much.
being used. The thing that I don't I know I'm not even saying real sentences. It's just my
Right.
feelings coming out. There are some that
Hmm.
I like
Hmm.
because there are some that feel true to what's happening in the book. There are
Right.
some that do a really great job of selling either the premise or the
Hmm.
vibe, or basically that are doing a great job of doing what a cover should do, which is fulfilling the promise of what
Hmm.
you will get when you get the book. And
Right.
I know there's this whole saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but I'm
We
sorry,
all
it is
do
a
it.
marketing, yeah, it's a
It
marketing tool.
right. Exactly. It is.
So the problem that I have is when you start using it just for everything,
Right.
and it doesn't actually necessarily indicate what it's about, especially for some of the books that had perfectly wonderful covers before. And then this is happening with straight romance a lot, actually, which I know just from being on
Oh, really?
the
Okay.
staff at
Hmm.
Smart Bitches Trashy Books, where it goes from, oh, okay, it's, like washboard abs dude holding a football. I forget the name of the author or the book.
Mm.
But it was like I read that book back when I was still reading straight romances. It was a perfect cover for it. And then they replaced it with this fucking illustrated cover that made it look like people in junior high
Oh,
at a,
yeah.
like, football game, and it's like, "No, this
Yeah,
is a
that's
filthy
bad.
for grown-ups romance." So at that point, it's no longer making the appropriate promise.
Hmm.
And so I don't like this, well, everybody's buying them, so we just have to do them that way. Like,
Hmm.
it's just when you're using it as a stupid marketing trend,
Hmm.
coattail riding situation, it just doesn't make sense to me. I just want covers that help me understand what I'm going to get and make
Hmm.
me excited to read it.
So, for the first time ever, I have a cartoony type cover. Well, first of all, I do kind of like them. I feel,
Mhm.
especially with Sapphic, you're going to find more vector art or something that you can use a lot easier than you can like a photo.
Oh, hell yeah. Stock
Like
photography
stock
with lesbians
photography
is
is just,
terrible.
it is horrible. It is
Yes.
absolutely horrible. And so this book, Perfect,
Mhm.
that I'm like around 3 of edits, which I haven't even gotten to the guts of it really. My main character is non-binary. So try to find a
Mm.
non-binary and a lesbian and make it work on a book cover. It was impossible.
Yeah.
It was impossible. So then we flipped to Vector and
Mhm.
Deb designed something that I thought was amazing. And I loved it because it was exactly what I needed it to be. And so I was so excited. I turned it into Sandy, and she's like, just so you know, we're kind of getting away from this now. So, like, this art is like a flash in the pan. Like, these covers will not
Yes.
last. And so, so
No.
she kind of was like, you're going to be dating your book by having a cover like this. And I'm like, but also, it kind of goes, well, I mean, I had Forever, which is not really cartoony, but it was like a silhouette.
Yeah, I know what you
So
mean.
so
It
it
was an
vibes with that.
illustrated one. Yeah.
Right. And so I think it meshes well with it because my character is from that book. Alex got their own book from that book.
Yeah. I do think, especially a situation like you're describing,
Mhm.
it is way better to go with an illustrated cover than to
Right.
try to Frankenstein some
Oh
nightmare
yeah.
of a
Never.
cover with two different, with a different background, all in
Mm.
Photoshop. And also, the thing that I forgot to say is, despite everything else I had mentioned, all of my other feelings about it, I would
Mhm.
still prefer to have an illustrated cover that was designed by a person than an
Right.
AI generated cover.
Right. Right.
Every day of the week. Pay an artist to do the cover. Or if you're a
Mhm.
company, if it's a publishing company that can afford to do it, this is where I think, the traditionally published companies should go back to holding photo shoots. If you have the
Yeah.
budget and you're going to publish a book, say like yours, where it has a non-binary character and it has a cisgender woman, like hire people,
Yeah,
take
exactly.
photos of them.
Yeah, because it's yeah. And I know that there are some writers on our within BSB that actually do take photos and use their own photos on the cover.
Mhm.
But like let's put another thing on my plate.
Some of them are amazing. There's a book I'm going to talk about in a little bit. I think the cover is gorgeous and
Well,
it's
then I'll have to get to it.
illustrated.
Ooh,
Well, I don't mind spoiling what I've been reading. Did you see the cover for
uh,
Leather, Lace, and Locks by Anne Shade?
I'm looking it up right now. And locks LOC. Like I'm see if I'm gonna beat you. I beat you.
Yeah, I stopped when I realized what you were doing. I started to search for it and you started talking. I was like, nah, I'm not searching. You do it.
Yeah, that is good.
Like, that's a really, really
Yeah, that really
beautifully done
is.
one. I think because I think also, like, why I love that one compared
Mhm.
to some of the others is it's very distinctly like, it feels like 3 women and not just a silhouette of sometimes silhouettes work well. I don't think it would have worked well with this particular story, knowing
Mhm.
how it works. So I like it because, again, it fulfills that promise. No, it's not that it fulfills the promise. It gives a promise that the book then goes on to fulfill.
Right. Yeah, so that is a good cover.
Mhm.
Good job, Anne. Good job.
Mhm. Okay, we had one other question. It's from our pal Wendy. Wendy, we love you. Thank you for sending in another question. Wants to know what's your go-to piece of media that you
Hmm.
return to again and again for comfort?
So everybody here knows I love movies. Like I love movies. Love them.
Yes.
Absolutely love them. And I have so many comfort movies. Like I so here's the funny thing. For love and romance, I will stop at While You Were Sleeping every time it's on.
Mhm.
Like for sure, Sandra Bullock. I love that whole movie. I just you get all the good feels. There's humor.
Mhm.
There's like just the sense of like need. Like she needs that. She doesn't have that love. It's just like her life has been so hard. And then it's the hope. It's the hope thing
Yeah.
that I have. The hope thing.
Yeah.
So I will always watch that movie. And then I always watch Elf every year.
Oh,
I mean, I
so
watch it like at
good.
least once or twice. That's such a fun, feel good movie, like for
Mhm.
sure. As far as anything sapphic, like I haven't found like the best sapphic movie yet. We've talked
There's
about
so many
several of
people
them, but
screaming
I
right
know
now
they
about
hate
that
me
one we
because
didn't.
they want me to say that awful movie. What is it? Imagine Me and You or something like that.
Mhm. We
Mm-mm,
didn't
not gonna
love
say
it.
it. No, we didn't. Were
And
they
I think
beautiful women? Yes, yes.
yes.
Were they nice to look at? Of course they were.
I could see where if we had seen it within a few years of it being released, it
Hmm.
probably would have blown our mind given the media
Right.
landscape then.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Mhm.
didn't.
Right. It was like,
Sorry.
there's so much problematic stuff in here.
Mhm.
Like people will give me a hard time for mentioning whatever movie. Oh, that's like a stalker movie,
Mhm.
You've Got Mail or something like that. Like 30
Yeah.
years ago, 20 years ago, we all watched it and was like, heavy sigh. Oh my gosh, this is
Yes.
so great. Oh, true
Yes.
love, and but now you look at it and think, oh my God, this is super creepy and he should be arrested.
Oh yeah.
And so you watch this, and yes, there's romance and it's wonderful, and she goes to a flower shop and they fall in love, but guess what? She still gets married to the dude and still is attracted to her, and she's cheating on the dude, and it's just like and that's the one thing everybody bitches about in sapphic romance. Oh, I can't read
Mhm.
it because she cheats. Like don't have these double standards.
Yes.
Like stop with the double standards.
So, okay. Let's
Did I
have a
go
little
too far?
sidebar. No. No, in fact, I don't know that we've talked about this before. We've been doing this podcast for 3 years, so it's also possible I forgot. But I don't think we've gotten into the whole, like, readers are so against cheating and sapphic
Right.
romance, and you're so right. But it feels like there is occasionally, not always, but some readers will make an exception if it's a woman cheating on her husband
Yes.
to then be with another woman.
Right. Because I think that happens in our world.
I mean,
I know
I don't
people. I know people who have done
yes.
that For sure. I know people. I feel like it happens a lot. I mean, it happens in life, even in the heterosexual
Yes.
world.
That's what I was
Like
gonna say, like,
affairs happen. People cheat.
cheating happens in relationships of all kinds, but I don't think I ever saw, even when I was participating in, like, the straight reading community, I don't think I saw nearly the same, like, I don't even know the right word for it, like, people get angry when they
They
come across
do.
cheating in a
They really
lesbic book.
do. Like I had somebody reach out to me and they said, "I'm sorry, I can't reach catch because there's an affair." I'm like, "Is there? Is there an affair? Like check. Like why don't you read the book first and then come back to me?" Yeah.
Wow.
Like come back to me after that.
That's why I thought it was interesting and kind of brave that Georgia Beers wrote not 1, not 2, but 3 books that have cheating in
Yeah.
it, like, that was a choice.
Yeah. But I mean, and it's true, it happens. Things like that happen.
Mhm.
Like, should people get married anymore? Listen to me. Like, this is a
Mm.
whole rabbit hole. Like, we do not need to go down tonight. It is Tuesday night and it is 10
Yes.
o'clock my time.
Yes.
So technically I should be like
We're
having
do
my after dinner snack and then I should be going to bed. But instead we're doing this podcast and I have feelings about things this late at night and I'm medicated.
Oh, you've got the truth
See
serum. This
you.
is where
Yep.
I wish I had good questions to ask you. Okay, this is the time. Let's get Chris to spill all her
Right.
secrets. Okay, my go-to piece of me. Oh yeah, you didn't come up with any sapphic. Is there a sapphic novel? Like, is there
Like,
like your
and
coming out book or?
same situation, like a book that was written 20 years ago. I mean, I
Mhm.
love Too Close for Comfort.
Oh
I've
yeah,
always loved that, but that is very problematic now. And it's just like, I'm sad
it
because I
is.
look at it through new eyes and like new experiences and how the world's changed and how women are fighting for everything and not accepting the way things are. Oh, but they
Mhm.
like me, but it's okay if they like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like a whole thing. It is a book I do read. I do read a lot of Alley Valley. I do like to like
Mhm.
it's just I mean, I don't have one book that I pull off the shelf and say I have to read this again and again.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I've read some books several times, but I
Mhm.
think if I had to pick one, it'd be Too Close to Touch. Too Close to Touch. That's what it's called. What did I
Mhm.
say earlier? Did I name an 80s show or something? What did
I
I
don't know.
say?
Probably like too close for comfort or something
Yeah,
like
that
that.
was like okay.
To be
Sorry,
fair,
Georgia.
I did not call you on it at all.
Right.
I
So, but
I
it's
didn't
Too
notice.
Close to Touch. Yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, I kind of wish there was a way to just like cut those 2 pages out. Cuz the rest of it is wonderful, but it's just
Right.
the way the sector has evolved, consent has just become a much more important
Oh, for sure. And
part of the
consent needs to
story,
be
which
in every book.
I know we're being kind of cagey, and I don't know that it makes sense for us to go into detail explaining the situation, but let's just say there's like this dubious moment between a lead character and a close friend
Mhm.
that like nobody batted an eye at the
Mhm.
time. And even when I read it kind of the first time, I didn't think anything of it. And that was about a decade ago. And I honestly think that Me Too changed the way we look at even scenes like that
Right.
in romance. And so, we sometimes have a problematic fave, and that's okay.
Right. Right. And it's books are going to only last for so long,
Mhm.
before things change and people
I mean,
change and stuff.
there are many women in our community who would say Curious Wine is the one that they go back to again and again. That was the coming out book
Right.
for many a lesbian or sapphic person. But there is a rape scene in that. Like, there is a scene where one of the women is having sex with a man and she withdraws her consent and he doesn't stop.
Mhm.
But it's still a really important book. Okay, so my go-to piece of media. Okay, so I thought about it. For films is probably The Philadelphia Story, which is from the 1940s. It has
Oh,
Katharine Hepburn and Cary
okay.
Grant and Jimmy Stewart. It's just one of my all-time favorite movies. I discovered it when I was 14 and I never stopped loving it.
Oh.
And then also the BBC miniseries from 1995 of Pride and Prejudice is another big one for me. I hadn't seen it in
Mhm.
years and I watched it again a few months ago and it's wonderful. I remember it was one that when I was in grad school, I would probably clean my apartment too infrequently, but when I did clean it,
It was
I
always
would
with that on.
yeah, it was always with
Yeah.
that on, and I am old enough that it was on VHS, and so it was like 6 tapes, and I would pop in a tape, and then
Aw.
my apartment was small enough because it was like half of the top floor of a Victorian house, and
Okay.
so I would know that one of my favorite parts was coming up, and I would go and I would sit in front of the TV for that, and then
Mm,
when it was done, I would go and I would keep cleaning again, and
that's
then
sweet.
yeah. And then for books, yeah, no sapphic films, none. I have none.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're
I've
trying. I'm going
yeah,
through them all. I'm trying to find us one.
yeah, maybe someday. But for books, Gunn Brooks' first book
Oh, yeah, you did talk about that.
is one of them, but it's the one about a producer and an actress. And they're not working on the same project. The actress is trying to find a way to work on the on it. And it's kind of it's interesting because every time I go back to it, I see the flaws. It's a first book. A first book often has quite a few flaws. And I don't care because I love the characters so much.
Mhm.
It just does it for me every time. And then, of course, I mean, I've banged on and on at length about Rosalind Sinclair's
Oh,
Truth and
yeah.
Measure and above
Mhm.
all things. Like, even before that, the fanfic was when I was reading probably about once a year. And Lee Winter's first book, The Red Files, was one. And actually, at this point, The Headmistress by Milena
Oh,
Mackay
yeah. Mhm.
is one of them. I remember there was during my reading slump, despite being in a slump, I desperately needed a comfort read at one point, and I picked that up
Mm,
and it helped.
good.
So, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, as you were talking about media, you said
Mhm.
the Philadelphia story, and I was thinking, Tom Hanks, what? That was a super fucking sad movie. What? Not Philadelphia, but the
No, not Philadelphia.
I was concerned. I was like,
It
wow,
was no, the Philadelphia Story, which is based on a
story.
stage play. And if I remember my history correctly, Katharine Hepburn was in the play and she loved
Okay.
it so much that she wanted to be turned into a movie. And the
Wow.
hope was that, like, as it was being turned into a movie, they were I think George Cukor directed that one. Here's the thing. How did I not know I was queer in high school when I gave this much of a shit about 1940s
Right.
films
That you
in the
cried.
90s? Like, what? That's like
Right.
big queer kid energy. But they were hoping she would play the lead just like she did in the play, but they were hoping to get Spencer Tracy and Clark Gable, and they couldn't, but they did okay with
Mm.
Jimmy Stewart and the
Mm.
other guy whose name escapes me despite having said it. It's in the last 5 minutes. I love my brain at the end of the day. I did go and find the name of that story by
Uh,
Gunbrook. It's called
courses
Course
of
of
action.
Action.
Yes.
Yes. It's
Yes.
very
I was going to say
fun.
that.
Yeah, that's super fun. And then I think I said recently, the characters from that show up in Fierce
Right.
Overture, which I reread and was still pretty good. Although, again, a little bit of weirdness around maybe you shouldn't be a famous singer and then like fuck the person that's the head of your music company, whoever it is that's putting your music out.
Yeah,
But
but
hey, it worked
again, that
out.
happens. Yeah, it happens. It
Truly,
worked out. I mean,
truly.
we see it all the time. We hear about it all the time in real
Yeah,
life. Yeah.
that's true.
So.
That's true. All right, Kris,
Yes.
what have you been watching lately?
Okay, I finished The Walking Dead, the Rick and Michonne series, and I freaking cried like a baby.
Oh
It's
no.
over.
Was it good?
It was very good.
Good.
It
Okay.
was very good. And I'm in season 5 of The Resident, and
Mhm.
I again cried like a baby.
Mm.
Yeah, it's been a lot of crying. And then, like, because like GCLS did this call out, hey, March Madness, do your basketball brackets. And I'm like, cool, I don't know what I'm doing. But like
Mhm.
everybody, all my little friends in this thread that we have, they're like, hey, you need to do the basketball bracket. So I'm like, okay, I'll do the basketball bracket. I don't
And
know
you said,
anything
"Where
about
were you
anybody.
for the football?"
Right. Yeah. Where was this during the Super Bowl? So I did the bracket and I know like Caitlin Clark, she's from Iowa
Mhm.
and she like is amazing. And I have enjoyed this whole March Madness watching her play. So I kind of have been watching all the games, but you know, you do the brackets and you figure out who's going to win the final, blah, blah, blah. So I actually played like the first day I was like in first place and everybody's like, how? And I'm like, I don't know. It's strictly guessing. And now I'm
Beginner's
like in
luck.
last. Yeah, it was beginner's luck. And like now I'm in last place or something. So,
You're making
so
me
it
think,
doesn't
Kris.
count.
Did you ever watch that episode of The Simpsons where Lisa helps Homer bet on, I think it was
I'm
football
just probably
teams?
counting. No, I don't. But
Oh
that
my God.
sounds awesome.
It was so it was like, it was something like, well, their jerseys look nicer. Like,
Hmm.
like that kind of stuff.
That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of there was an exciting game last night.
Mm-hmm.
And like Caitlin Clark is she has like 3-pointers down. She could almost like shoot them from like half court. Like
Whoa.
nobody, she 41 points, I think, in last night's game. 41 points.
That sounds like a lot.
That's amazing. Yeah, it is a lot
Okay.
for women's basketball. And so it was great. So we're gonna see how this all plays out. I mean, by the time this podcast airs, we'll know like who's
Mm-hmm.
going to the game or who wins the game. But I have been watching basketball, and let me tell you, like I really don't like watching basketball. Despise watching men's basketball, especially like professional basketball. It's like, you know, you're just watching two people run, it's just in basket, in basket, in basket, in basket, in basket. Oh, they missed one. Oh, in basket, in basket. So it's nonstop, and they get over 100 points every game, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
not fun to watch. Like it's not fun at that point.
So there needs to be more of a struggle.
I think there needs to be, people starting at, you see these kids, they're 18, 19, 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun, and it's so funny because I turned on the TV tonight and they had the men's basketball. And I don't know if it was professional or if it was college, but it was
Mm-hmm.
so boring and everybody kept missing the 3-pointers. And I'm like, you should learn from Caitlin. You should learn from Caitlin. Like literally to watch her play is amazing. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it brings the love back to me. And I used to play and I used to coach. I
No
can't watch it
way.
on TV. Yeah, I used to
I did
coach.
not know that.
Stop it. I used to coach girls basketball from the YMCA and also through the grade schools up through 8th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, same girls.
That's
Yeah,
so
we had
cool.
so much fun at YMCA that I followed them through school up
Mm-hmm.
until they got to the point where they were like playing, high school and stuff like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it was so much fun. I had a great time. Coaching kids is so much fun, especially when they're not your own.
Yeah.
Like
Well.
you get all the fun with them and then you send them off to your parents,
Mm-hmm.
to their parents. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how that
Tire them
works.
out, send them home cranky.
Right, right. And like my favorite story is like there's a banker dad. And
Mm-hmm.
dads in general are just awful. Like in the crowds, dads are dads.
Yeah.
Mansplaining everything to me.
Yeah.
Like this every time we had a game, this guy would come find me. You should have really had this person playing this position. Da da da. They're like 8, 9 years old at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm lucky they don't run with the ball and they actually dribble it. I'm good with
Yep.
that.
Yep.
So then like kind of fast forward about 5 years and he comes up to me, he sees me because I went to go see a game, one of the girls, and he comes up to me and he goes, you know what? He goes, you were so right.
Mm.
He goes, girls at this age, because the girl I was coaching, she had a younger sister. And so he,
Mm-hmm.
of course, Bill thought he could do a much better job.
Okay.
So he decided to coach her team. And he's like, you know what it's about? It's about the snacks. I go, of
Yeah.
course, Bill, it's about the snacks. We need to know, are we eating gummies and
Mm-hmm.
like juice boxes? I mean, that's the important thing. That's the reward. It's
Yeah.
like, that's what they want. They want to know who's bringing the snacks and what they are.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, and it was like perfect. And so, the girls went to district. I mean, they did really well, not by my coaching, but it was a incredible experience to watch these girls grow up right in front of me,
Mm-hmm. I
being a part
love
of their
that.
lives. And yeah, I loved it so much. And, and now the kids are 30. Of
Oh my
course, I started
God.
when I was like 8. I mean, come on, I started coaching when I
Yeah.
was 8.
Listen, if you're not gonna play, you gotta coach.
That's right.
You can do one or the other.
Yeah. So that is what I've been watching. What about you? What have you been reading and or watching?
All right. So I continue with the drag races. Season 16 is still ongoing. I
Mm.
think it might end someday. Who can tell? This season feels like it's been going forever. It's been a great season though. I've really, really enjoyed it. Some really, really talented queens. Your Kansas City Queen is still in.
Woo!
She
Kansas
made it
City
to the top
Queen.
4.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Final 4.
and then the second season of UK versus the World ended. I mean, those are always shorter anyway because they only bring 8 queens on for that. They
Oh.
don't bring on 16 or however many fucking people they bring on the main seasons. And it was a top 4 where, like, truly, I didn't mind who won. I thought for
Mm,
sure that Marina Summers would win. I think I talked about her before. She's from the Philippines, incredible dancer.
mm.
And it was a lip sync SmackDown, they say. So it's basically like 2 against 2, and then the winners for those go on. And she was picked for the first of the 2 lip syncs, and she got Hanaconda from Australia, who literally, when that happened, said, "Ah, fuck a duck," because Marina Summers is the best queen and at dancing. Sorry, she's the best at dancing. And like Hannah is incredible. I was rooting for her. She almost won her season in Australia. She's so funny, but still beautiful. And it was like, well, this really sucks because I really liked her and there's no way she's going to win now. And she won the lip sync, which was amazing because I think what happened was Marina Summers did an excellent performance, but Hannah Conda put her heart and soul into it. It was a
Mm.
song by Anastasia. I forget what it's called, but she like actually brought props. So she had sunglasses, she brought a microphone and just like acted like she was singing her guts out. I was really
Wow.
proud of her. She didn't win. Tia Coffee won, but also that means Tia Coffee is the first non-white queen to win in the UK, which is very exciting.
Wow.
And she's
Mhm.
also excellent. She's hilarious. She made me laugh every time. We also started watching Physical 100 with our friends Amanda and Tanya. There's a part of me that wonders, like, are we going to see joints dislocated? Are we going to see bones
Oh,
broken? Like,
no.
what's going to happen? But it's still, I don't know. We were talking about, we watched the first 2 episodes, and the question came up that was like, why do you like this? Like, why do we like this? And I think I realized the reason I like it is the editing is so good. I have so much like, oh my God, who is going to win this particular matchup? So for people
Mhm.
who haven't won it, it's 100 people from across Korea from all kinds of professions. They could be athletes, they could be military, they could be firefighters, they could be sports models. There was a K-pop star, there were fitness YouTubers or CrossFitters.
So very fit people.
Very, very fit people. Well, for the most part, there were a couple that were not as fit, but like
Mhm.
still had a lot of strength because they were like quite big. There was like, were they maybe
Mm.
sumo or something like that? And you go from 100 to one person, and that one person is going to win like 200 and something $1,000 in the
Nice.
US is kind of the equivalent for it. But it's like brutal what they do to get there.
Yeah.
So I'm enjoying it. I'm not rooting for anyone in particular yet because it's too soon. There's still 100 people in it while we're watching.
Well, one way to put it, or one way to kind of sum it up, is the very first season of it, like the very first like challenge that they had was they had to hang
Yes.
their body. They basically had to hold up their body weight
Mhm.
on this like railing type thing.
Just yeah.
And like it's interesting because you think that the big bulky guys are going to be like they're going to kill, like they're going to make it to the very end, but they have challenges that are designed for endurance and not just big
Mhm.
muscly beefy people,
Or
because they're the first.
agility
Yeah,
or
yeah, so it's not just strength, it's just
no.
it's overall body like performance. And that was really interesting when like, and all the heavy
Mhm.
dudes, the big muscular dudes and women, they were falling
Oh,
first like
yeah.
into the water.
So they replaced that challenge this time
Not too
with
bad, I liked it.
manual treadmills. So they had to everybody had to run on manual treadmills. So, like, you're literally it's you running that's making
Oh, okay.
the thing spin around it. They had to run for 10 minutes and they were tracking how much distance they were each running. And the top 50 got to go on and they had to run for 7
Oh,
minutes.
okay.
And then they again track the distance and the top 10 go on to do 5 more minutes. And
Wow.
like I thought people were going to barf.
I want to barf.
I know, right? Just like just hearing about it, just
Oh
watching
no.
it. So yeah, that's our other show that we're watching. In terms of reading, I haven't finished it yet, but I have been reading, like I mentioned, Leather, Lace, and Locks by Anne Shade.
Mhm.
I'm about 60% of the way through right now, and this one is interesting. The structure is really interesting because it follows 3 best friends as they're each going on their own, like, personal and romantic journeys. So we have Melissa,
Nice.
she's shy, introverted, she has a fairly strained relationship with her religious family since she found out she's a lesbian. Since they found out she's a lesbian, they found out way after she found out, of course. And so she shifts from having this, like, really unfulfilling, underpaid job to working for a boss who really sees her. She actually also on the side becomes a dominatrix. And the
Wow.
way I know, right? So she goes from this, like, quiet former church girl to this, like, boss bitch dominatrix.
Sound
And
familiar?
yeah, that's very me. That's definitely me. No. So she takes on this client who ends up flipping the script on her. And that I have not seen how that fully unfolds, but I
Mm.
think that is going to be her person. Then there's Golden. Golden and Melissa, I think, grew up together. And Golden had dreams, like just all growing up. She loved dancing. She wanted to become a professional dancer, but then her dad died. And so
Mm.
she pursued money instead to help support her family. But she ends up taking up burlesque. She goes to, like, a class and she falls in love with it, and then she kinda joins a company, like a dance company, and then she's like, "Wait, I can sort of do my own thing," and she makes it work so well that she walks away from a career in private equity, which I kinda
Wow.
loved because private equity is highly problematic for a number of reasons that I'm not gonna soapbox on today. But her love story is with 2 women who are, like, popular, like, singers, performers, something like that, and then Zoe is their other friend. She's a single mom, she's a beautician and also a businesswoman, so she has clients of her own. She also has this successful line of natural hair care products, and her love story is with this client who comes in one day who is, like, getting divorced and wants to cut that man out of her hair, and they sort of get together. So like I said, I'm about 60% of the way through it so far. I feel like the friendship works really well for me in this story. I think that's the best element of it. Like they're not just friends, they really are each other's like they're each other's people, they're each other's family. They trust each other so well. I really appreciated each of their personal journeys. There's some really big changes, especially from Melissa, who was the religious one. I don't think it's a
Mhm.
shocker that I'd be drawn to her.
Right.
See earlier in the episode if that was confusing. But I really loved seeing the way she grows in her confidence over time because that's the like, that is the most interesting part to me of her becoming a dominatrix is seeing her kind of use that as a way to take hold of her own power, and I think what's happening now with this person that maybe, hopefully, probably she's going to fall in love with is that they see the power, they recognize it, but also guess what? You can have a safe place to land too, and I
Right.
think that's quite lovely. Because there's still quite a bit of the way to go, I'm hoping the rest of the book is going to make the romances work a little better for me because right now, I feel like I'm sort of being told that they're falling in love more than
Oh.
seeing it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I actually think it's because of the structure of the story, because it often jumps ahead by months, which makes sense. You're trying to pack in 3 people's stories. You have to do these big leaps ahead to make a whole story work in around 300 pages or so. But for example, Golden we find out she's been having these video and phone calls with the twins. They're not actually twins, but I think they're called like the Rhythm Twins is their band name or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it just, like, it skips ahead and it's like, "Oh, they've been having these calls for months, and she feels deep feelings," and I would've really liked to see those happen, at least 1 or 2 of them, so I could feel kind of, like, feel more of the chemistry, feel more of them coming together. I do feel like I'm seeing more of that, though, with Melissa and Zoe's, so we'll see how it goes. I think, and maybe this is me being greedy, but I love these characters so much that I kinda wish this was a 3-book series rather than just 1 novel, and then we
Mhm.
could have had the space to see more of the romances build, more of the chemistry build, more of the interactions. So, it's the first book I've picked up from her, though. I think she's a great writer, and I'm really looking forward to reading more from Anne Shade.
Yay.
And then the book that I did finish while I was on vacation, Bloodline by Jen Alexander.
Love Jen.
It is releasing, I believe, the same day that this podcast is dropping.
Oh,
Um, I
nice.
I
Yeah, the
know, right?
9th?
Yes. It's coming out on the 9th. This book has it all, maybe not all, but it has lesbians, it has vampires, and it has a coffee
Ooh.
shop. I don't know.
Need you say more?
Need I say more? Probably not, but I'm going to. It was adorable. It's told from the
Ah.
perspective of Edie McLean. She's running her family's coffee shop, which is literally called the McLean Family Coffee Shop, which I think is kind of hilarious. But she's running it after her parents died the year prior. The shop has been in her family for 4 generations. Her great grandfather opened it when he came back from the war, but all of her predecessors were terrible at business. So she wants to keep this place open. She really wants to keep their legacy going of excellent coffee in the community. It's how she feels the connection to her family, but she doesn't know how to do it because she's not a business person either. And so now she's burning the candle at both ends. She can only afford to have one employee. So like she opens the shop and then he comes in and then she gets a nap in and then she comes back and she works until like midnight and then she's back in at 5 the
Wow.
next day. I know, like it's not, I was worried about her even though I was reading a book and I knew she wasn't real. So
That's not enough sleep.
has not enough sleep. And to make ends meet, she gets this new roommate to at least come and rent one of the rooms in her place. And her roommate's name is Empty. And Empty shows up with a bunch of vampire shit. And she actually had, like, she brought a real actual coffin in with her too. And poor
Wow.
Edie's like, what am I doing? But she's going to pay and I need this money. The one bright spot that she has is Penny, who is a night shift nurse. She stops by every evening after the sun is down. She stops by their walk-up window to order coffee for her coworkers. And there's like a little cute little bit of flirting. Eventually, all of this kind of collides in such a way that Edie realizes maybe she can keep her shop open by catering to this underserved or unserved, some might say,
Ah, market.
market of, is it a spoiler to say vampires when I open with vampires?
No,
Hey, I don't think so.
it's not a spoiler. Nah,
But of course, the people in her town are terrible. It's kind of hilarious how bad they freak out when she starts serving Draculates, which I think is
that's
a cute
hilarious. It
name.
is great.
It was for Halloween. And then she basically is like, fuck these bitches. I'm going to do this. So it just comes to a question of, can she help open the town's narrow minds enough to keep her family's legacy going? Can she get this girl? I found it to be a quite cozy read. It was really perfect for vacation. Everything is told from Edie's perspective. And I think what was done with her character in particular was really smart because this could have tipped into being almost too cozy of a book, like
Mm-hmm.
so cozy that it's not particularly interesting. But she's balancing grief for her parents, despair about the shop's money, plus her own personal finances. She's determined to turn things around and she's excited as she gets to know Penny and they have some chemistry and they start to be together. I liked the chemistry. It was like it was there. It kept the
Oh,
pages turning
nice.
for
Good.
me. And it was so good. I did not even care that it's a fade to black
Mm.
romance because I don't typically reach for fade to black romances. I didn't know that this was one, but I thought that it worked really well with that overall cozy vibe. Also convenient though, because every so often I realized that my 9-year-old was reading over my shoulder when we were on the plane. I was like, "Are you reading this book?" And she goes, "Yeah, what's
No.
happening?"
Oh.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is at certain points it like makes a literal connection, drawing a direct line between fear of vampires and homophobia.
Oh.
And the reason I find this interesting is that monsters, including vampires, have long been used in books and film as a stand-in for queer people. And this fear of monsters as a stand-in for homophobia. Like there was more
Hmm.
queerness in film, like in horror, before, like way before it came into mainstream.
Mhm.
And I thought it was really refreshing to have it as a part of the text instead of the subtext, just saying full stop that discrimination is wrong. I thought that worked. The other thing as a Canadian that I thought was kind of funny is so her nemesis is not Starbucks. It was a low cost coffee chain called Jimmy's. But I know this author is Canadian. She lives in
Ah.
my province. And so I'm guessing that that's a jab at Tim Hortons because everybody calls it Timmy's. So it felt like a very,
Ah.
hey, fuck you, Tim Hortons. We don't
Let
like
me
your
see.
coffee.
Okay. That's interesting.
I don't know. So
Jimmy's. Hmm.
if people like urban fantasy romance, if you're ever a Buffy fan but wished it was queer,
Buffy.
I think this is the one to check out.
Oh, that's great.
That's the end of my what I did on my
Woo.
it's not summer vacation, March break. What I did on my March break reading report.
On your catch-up vacation. Ah, nice.
Mhm. Kris, what
Yes.
is your official recommendation this week?
So this week has been kind of a tragic week. So after I turned in my edits, I grabbed a book that I knew was going to be a good escape for me.
Mhm.
Um, and this podcast, I'm recommending Georgia Beers's latest release, Aubrey McFadden is Never Getting Married.
Ooh, I bet the title's not true.
Well, I'm not going to spoil it for everybody.
Okay.
So here's the blurb. All of Aubrey McFadden's college friends are tying the knot, and she's been invited to 5 weddings, 5 in 1 year. Who wouldn't want to celebrate so much love and romance? Aubrey, that's who. She's going anyway, of course. It's not her friend's fault her college boyfriend left Aubrey on the day of their wedding. Lies, selfishness, unhappy surprises, no thank you. And you know who's responsible for her permanently single status? Monica, that's who.
That
Their
bitch.
friends all say Monica Wallace had a thing for Aubrey back then. Not that Aubrey cares one bit why that still would make her heart race. Monica convinced her best friend Cody that marrying Aubrey, settling down and locking himself into a 9 to 5 at the expense of his dreams would be a huge mistake. Cody called off the wedding, and Aubrey has never forgiven them. Aubrey McFadden is never getting married, but she does have 5 weddings to attend, and she'll be avoiding Monica at every single one.
Okay.
Okay. What I really liked about this book was how it's crafted.
Mhm.
There are basically 7 parts to this. There's the prologue, there's the 5 weddings, and then an epilogue. There's no chapters. It's just parts of
So
books.
kind of like 4 weddings and a funeral?
I was gonna say that exactly. That when I was reading it, I was
Ooh.
like, oh, this kind of so reminds me of 4 weddings and a funeral.
Mhm.
And it's nice because like each section, like who's the wedding because it shows you a copy of the invitation.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I smiled when I saw that. So like part 1, it said, well, actually I should go to the prologue. The very
Mm.
first, the very beginning of the book says prologue, Aubrey and Cody, June 28th, 2014, traditional church wedding. Aubrey McFadden is never getting married. Reason number 1, love can blindside you and getting blindsided sucks. So I printed it off for you to see.
Oh, cute.
Yeah, so it's super cute. And then in the start of each part, it has like the wedding invitation and it tells you like here's part 1.
Oh, and they're each different.
Yeah, they're each different because there's different people in her
Mhm.
lives. And then like reason it says again, Aubrey McFadden is never getting married. Reason number 2, people are selfish. So then it goes to
Mm.
that whole wedding. So at the beginning, no spoilers here. Aubrey has just graduated college and she's marrying her college boyfriend, Cody, or the giant man baby with the Peter Pan syndrome. Like, he is not a great guy. Only she finds out that Monica, her
Mhm.
BFF has talked him out of it, so he dumps her at the altar. So she's really bitter about weddings and cannot stand forgiving Monica. She can't like forgive Monica for any of
Mhm.
this. Like she just feels like it's because of Monica that Cody leaves her at the altar. I mean, she's not technically at the altar, but it's her wedding day. She's at the church. She's in the
Yeah.
room and he walks in the room and says, "Hey, I can't do this." And Monica's like kind
Mhm.
of right behind him, kind of, helping him tell her this.
Right.
So fast forward 10 years and suddenly all of her friends are getting married and she's either a bridesmaid or she's the maid of honor or she's just a guest and she has to be there for a certain reason. And that part I'm not going to ruin. Monica is at every single one and Aubrey can't get over her meddling her from 10 years ago. I just said that, so I'm going to say it again. The only problem is that Monica's hot and Aubrey is hatefully attracted to her. So this is definitely an enemy to lovers story. Like Aubrey is rude to her at every
Oh.
turn. And she even scolds herself. And she's like, I don't know why I said that. Or in her head, she's
Mhm.
like, why am I being a total bitch to this person?
Mhm.
So eventually, she gets the whole side of the story. And like just the way it was written with the parts instead of chapters. And so just lumps of book and information. And it's all like low angst and just you're seeing the attraction happen. You can see how she kind of goes through this change, this character change,
Mhm.
because she's been harboring this hatred for 10 years. just like this
Yeah.
the same man, and she doesn't know the story. She doesn't know the full story until Monica tells her like what really happened that day. So there are people out there who hold grudges for years. I'm one of those people, and so is Aubrey McFadden.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, love always conquers all, mostly
Or
all,
the other person dies. It's
or the
one or
other
the
person
other.
dies. Yeah, if you can't make it work, the other person dies. But in this
Mm-hmm.
case, she made it work. So it is low angst, and this book is fun because we have bisexuals, we have gays, we have lesbians, and who doesn't love weddings?
I don't know. Miserable people.
Right, miserable people. And we have characters from a different Georgia Beers book, so that was kind of a fun little Easter egg, a little nugget.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. And it was exactly the warm hug I needed.
Good.
And it's a short read. It's like less than 75,000 words. I say
Mm-hmm.
short read, that's like super long for me. But,
No, I
it
mean,
was it was perfect.
yeah, for a romance, that's pretty good. That's not, I
Yeah.
mean, listen, it's not going to be like a Susan X Maher 500 page.
Yeah. 180,000 words. Yeah, no.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it made me smile and laugh out loud. Which I love it when a book does that, which I can
Mm-hmm.
laugh out loud. I really do enjoy it. So if you are looking for that type of read,
Mm-hmm.
then I recommend it.
You've convinced me. Although I had actually
Ah,
hoped to read it for this week too, but sadly that didn't happen. But
no.
now I feel like I have to, like I was
Yes,
interested before and now I have to read it.
right. I think you do. I think you'll really enjoy it, and then you'll come back to me and you'll want to talk about it.
Yes, that's
I
true.
think you will. I think you
I'll
will.
be
So,
texting you.
yes, you will. You'll get to certain spots like you always do when you're like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. So, what is your official recommendation?
Okay. So my official recommendation is a book called House Swap 101 by
Oh,
Jamie
cool.
Clevenger, which also releases today. And by
Mm,
today, I mean the day that this releases.
right. So does Aubrey McFadden is Never Getting Married. Also, it releases today. So
Look
go
at this,
get it.
people. You got three new, actually, I think the Anne Shade one does today too. You got
Yes.
four
Yes.
new releases you can go check out. But House Swap 101, it was so good. I loved it so much. So Robbie Price lives and works in Seattle. She has a day job doing tech stuff and she helps the uncle who raised her on the side. Like her side gig is to help him with his marina.
Mm.
One day she's complaining to a coworker named Matt in San Diego about like she's just so tired of the rain. She's so fucking tired of the rain. She's over it. It's been a month of no sun. I can't do it. And he's complaining about his soon to be ex-wife nagging him to do this to-do list of stuff that has to get done before they can sell their house. And Matt has a brilliant idea. He's like, "Hey, we should swap lives for a month." They both work mostly remote anyway. They kind of, from a distance, look enough alike anyway, because Robbie is Butch and they just like similar coloring, height, whatever. So they can just like trade swipe cards if they have to go into the office to reset some servers or shit.
Mhm.
Beth can help her uncle with the marina, and Robbie can do his to-do list for his ex Devin because Robbie is very handy. The problem, of course, is that Matt neglects to mention any of this to Devin, who freaks the fuck out
I
when she
bet.
comes home and she
Danger,
sees a
stranger.
stranger in her backyard weed whacking her pollinator garden because she has this
Ah.
like she loves because the monarchs fly down to San Diego every year, so she
Mm.
has this pollinator garden to help the
Oh no.
and she's like, "Who are you and what the hell are you doing to this?" And it's like, "Well, I was told to deal with the weeds." And it was like, "And again, who are you?" Like it's such a wild beginning. I've seen nothing like it and it worked so well for me.
Nice.
So Devin is an emergency room doctor. She's so busy because COVID has been knocking colleagues out of work for days at a time. And one of her colleagues is on maternity leave. And like again, trying to get Matt to do any of the stuff he's supposed to do so they can sell this house, which they could afford with two incomes, but neither
Mhm.
of them can afford on their own.
Right.
So like the last thing she needs is for him to like fuck off to Seattle. He's abandoned everything he's supposed to do. Who's this super hot butch woman there who, oh no, is actually good at getting things done? Oh, so she goes and she has like this bitch session with her best friends. And they help her realize the thing that I knew all along, of course, because I am a keen reader, which is you kind of need her. Like she was just like,
Right.
oh no, I need this woman if I'm going to sell this house. Matt's not going to do any of this stuff. And it's like, it's only 1 month, right? Like, surely they can both deal with this for
Nothing can
1
happen in a month with
Nothing could
lesbians.
happen in a month.
No.
Exactly. They start to like each other, and then they, like, really like each other, and then they like each other in the pants, and then
Mm,
it's a question of, is a month going to be enough? And the answer is no,
of course
because
not.
this is a romance novel, and I
It
loved it
is.
very much. So this book has the acknowledgments at the beginning, which made me quite happy because the author said, and I love this detail so much. This book happened specifically because one of their beta readers asked them to describe a character as a quote unquote house butch. When are you going to make a character that's like a house butch?
Nice.
And I had no idea how much I needed a house butch story in my life until I started reading this one. I liked that it started kinda like yours. It started from a really antagonistic place.
Mm,
I don't feel like I can call it a true enemies to lovers
mm,
because they're not each other's enemies anyway.
right.
Matt's the problem. He's the shit communicator. Robbie is actually super empathetic to what Devin is going through, and she's horrified that Devin didn't know that it was happening.
Mm,
And Devin is angry and kind of takes it out on Robbie a little bit with her attitude, but she's not actually mad at her. It's just he's a coward. Frankly, he's like a big
right.
time coward. I also don't think I can call Devin an ice queen. I think Matt would disagree with that. I think Matt would
Oh, for
absolutely call
sure.
her an ice queen. And I think it's because he hasn't grown up. He doesn't take accountability for anything. So he
Mm,
thinks she's an uptight perfectionist. But actually, when we see her with her friends, when we see her with her colleagues, she's quite warm. So I like that it's like there's like it's kind of complex in that way. Like it's a fairly simple story, but with him and his bad communication being there, it just adds interesting dimensions to it. And I don't think I've seen a romance quite like this before, where we have a character that's mid divorce, and the divorce is actually kind of like an integral part of the relationship development of this new character.
mm.
Like it was just this twist that made my brain really happy saying, "Ooh, this is new. This is shiny. This is great." I don't think it's gonna shock you that Robbie is my favorite. I love her very much. She is the house butch. She has a really, really good heart, and she is quite, remarkable with getting shit done and knocking things off of that to-do list. Something that I thought was really clever and I really enjoyed is the relationship that we see develop between Robbie and Devin's dog, Angel. Angel is a Jack Russell Terrier who hates people. He hates being picked up by anyone but Devin, and he bites. That's the thing. Like, don't pick him up. Don't look at him. Leave him alone. He bites. And I thought it was a brilliant, brilliant choice that when Devin comes home that first time and is like, "Who are you? What are
Mm.
you doing there?" And then she's like, "You have the dog. The dog hates people. The dog bites." The dog loved Robbie.
Mm. Yeah, always go
Abs
with your dog's gut instinct, always.
Yes, right? It was so good, and it turned out Robbie had had her own Jack Russell Terrier
Oh,
until relatively recent, and so it was just this, like, it was just this beautiful thing because it disarms Devin just enough that she can't immediately shut her down as, "Oh, this is more bullshit from
right.
Matt. I'm
Mhm.
so tired of this." It's like, "Well, Angel knows. Angel knows there's something
Angel
good there."
knows.
And her relationship with her uncle is a really important aspect of her story too. So her uncle is also gay. He never married. He didn't, he didn't have children of his own, but they love each other so much. And they just want each other to be happy in a way that
Mm,
means
that's
that they're
nice.
both sort of, they either have made sacrifices or are willing to make sacrifices. And that plays into her own character arc and adding that tension of, can she make a relationship work with Devin? And I thought it was really realistic and really well done. Devin, I enjoyed too. She's so weary from working too much, feeling like she's the only grown up in their house. She's had to keep too much together for
Sounds
too
like it.
long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, man, fuck that guy. He needs to go to
Peter Pan
therapy.
syndrome.
Right? Truly. Oh,
Yes.
I hadn't thought of that, but yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
It's like Cody. Yep.
So having someone like Robbie come along is just a relief where it's like, oh, she can be a partner. She doesn't have to like act like a mother to this person. And it was really great. I mean, I always like seeing somebody kind of start to acknowledge their bisexuality. Again, of course, because of my own, hello, it's me. But seeing how she goes about being in a relationship with a woman for the first time is just really great. And of course, Robbie is the perfect woman for that because she's just perfect and she's wonderful. I know you care about chemistry. It's
I do.
so good.
Oh,
It
good.
is like off the charts good. They start from that antagonistic place, but then it builds and builds and builds. And I love when characters have that like, oh no. Oh no, I like this person and I'm not supposed to like this person because of reasons. What do I do with that? I just think that's really fun and it definitely has that. And this is a contemporary romance. It's not an erotic romance, but I would say this one is a little on the spicier side. It has more sex scenes than most.
Hmm.
Unlike Bloodline, this is one that I had to stop reading sometimes on vacation when my kids were around because it's not safe to have my 9-year-old reading over my shoulder.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I loved it. It's House Swap 101. It made me happy from the beginning to the end. I hope we get to revisit Devin and Robbie again someday in another book. But for now, honestly, I liked it so much I added it to my favorites folder in my Kindle so I can
Wow,
easily find it
nice.
again
Yeah,
on a day that I need to pick me up. So yeah, that's it.
that's fantastic.
That's my one. That is all for this episode. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you're subscribed on your podcast app so you get notified when we have new episodes. But you probably already did if you're still listening to
Oh,
us
for sure.
now.
Yeah, by now,
um,
of course.
right? If you have a friend you think would like hearing recommendations like these, please tell them all about it. And again, if you want to support us, we have links in our show notes to our coffee and our newsletter sign up.
Or if you want to connect with us on your favorite social media sites, we have links in the show notes for that too. Or you can just search for Queerly Recommended on most social media sites or email us at podcast@queerlyrecommended.com. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye. I started to fall apart in the outro because I got a hot flash and I didn't like it.
I was like, oh my God, this is bedtime.